Timor-Leste, a small nation with a powerful story, once shaped by struggle, now defined by hope. In 2002, its people stood as one and claimed their freedom, the first new nation of this century. Since then, Timor-Leste has built its democracy, strengthened its voice, and found its place in the world. Now, after years of preparation, the nation stands ready to take its seat amongst its neighbors as it moves closer to joining Asean. I'm Gerard Ratnam. I spoke to President JOSÉ RAMOS-HORTA on what this next chapter means for Timor-Leste, for Asean, and for the region. Your Excellency JOSÉ RAMOS-HORTA, the President of Timor-Leste, it's an honor to be here, sir.
Great pleasure, thank you.
I'd like to begin this interview with this. Timor-Leste is preparing to join ASEAN and everyone's excited about it. Beyond the formal process, what does this moment mean for your people and your nation's story?
The moment of Timor-Leste official accession to ASEAN is a major milestone, yet another golden chapter in our short recent history. The history of Timor-Leste goes back 500 years. The history of the island itself, thousands of years, but the construction of the state, modern state, is very young. Maximum, we can talk about a quarter of a century. And yet we have made a tremendous progress when we count starting from year zero, and that was 2002. It has been a long road of difficulties, challenges of every quarter, because obviously we came from 24 years of conflict, exacerbated in 1999, the last year of Indonesia's presence in Timor-Leste. So when we achieved independence, 2002, the whole country was in ruins. So we didn't receive the country from a departing colonial power or from a UN, an international system that had been in the country for decades and build the country, as it happened in some colonial situations. Not always. We know the colonial history of the Europeans in Asia, Africa, and so on. But the Timor-Leste experience was the worst because everything was burned down in 99. So we had to start from zero. And at the same time, we had to deal with a people traumatized by violence. So healing the wounds of the soul, of the heart, to prevent revenge after independence. And that has been a major success. There has not been a single act of political revenge since independence. We reached out to other Timorese who collaborated with the other side, which is, you can always say, inevitable, normal, and obviously there were other Timorese who preferred to stay on with Indonesia. At the same time, it was the referendum took place because Indonesia agreed to it. So we have also to acknowledge the courage of the Indonesian side, led by President B.J. Habibie, and I would say further, thanks to also to the TNI, the Indonesian National Army, that agreed that acquiesced, that signed off on the referendum, and when the result came out, they honored the result and left the country.
Now, while you speak of this, ASEAN speaks of one vision, one identity, one community. How do you see Timor-Leste contributing to that shared identity? I don't know if this is a clever question, but every time we talk about peace and reconciliation, Timor-Leste speaks more about it than anyone else in the region.
Yeah, well, one common vision that is necessary for ASEAN, but one common identity that's a bit more difficult in view of the incredible diversity of ASEAN, which is it's rich. One of the most diverse regions of the world is Southeast Asia. And almost each and every Southeast Asian country, with the exception of Singapore, but even Singapore has at least 4 different distinct communities. But look at Indonesia, hundreds of ethnic groups and hundreds of languages. They do have a unified language, Bahasa Indonesia. Malaysia itself is very rich in its diversity. Thailand is the same, Philippines is the same, but that is the very diverse culture, religious, and that is actually a blessing. The important thing is that everyone in their respective countries embrace and make them feel that they are part of the country.
Right. So what you're saying is, for us to bring together an identity, we need to recognize everyone, every single ethnic group.
Exactly.
And how is that possible?
Yes. It is just, for instance, Indonesia, hundreds of ethnic groups, or Myanmar, over 100 ethnic groups. And I say that is not negative, it is a blessing. But there are situations whereby some ethnic groups, some nationalities might be left behind or might feel they are being excluded. So based on my experience and my knowledge, my understanding of these situations, we must make everybody, every religious group, every faith, every ethnic group in a given country, in a multiracial, multi-religious, multi-ethnic country, to feel we are all part of this country. And particularly those who are majority, they are the majority in a country, they are the ones who have to make greater effort to make the minority groups feel embraced. So and that's one of ASEAN goal, not leaving anyone behind. And that means don't leave behind the ethnic or religious minorities. Least of all, don't make them feel excluded.
Malaysia has strongly supported Timor-Leste's ASEAN journey, and you said this before we got into the interview. Now, what does the spirit of regional solidarity mean to you with Malaysia at the helm of ASEAN this year?
We are deeply grateful to Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim for his determination to push for Timor-Leste ASEAN membership during Malaysia's chairmanship. Of course, all other ASEAN countries contributed incrementally over the years, to make Timor today able to meet the expectations of ASEAN countries, to fulfill the milestones, to reach the milestones that are stipulated in the roadmap. So we are profoundly grateful to Malaysia's leadership, to Prime Minister Anwar, and to all the members of government around him, and all the other ASEAN leaders.
Now, looking ahead, when we talk about values and experiences, what values and experiences, in your opinion, Your Excellency, can Timor-Leste bring that will solidify and maybe strengthen the ASEAN family?
Yeah. I always say, not with false modesty, that the best contribution we can make to ASEAN is to keep Timor-Leste peaceful, a democracy, tolerant, open country. We are overwhelmingly Catholic, but we have a Protestant community, a Muslim community. They all must feel embraced, included, and respected. And that is we do. The government, our national budget, probably the only country in the world, I'm not sure, that provides serious financial support to all the religious communities. We have three main official acknowledged Catholics, Protestant, and Muslims. They are the ones who report to the government how many members they have, what activities they need, how much money they need, and the government provide. So we, our obligation to ASEAN, keep Timor-Leste peaceful, prevent Timor-Leste from becoming another headache for ASEAN leaders. In addition, if we can contribute more, I would love to see ASEAN play the role of bridge builder in this grand contest of the superpowers. China, United States. ASEAN can be the bridge builder so that China and the US, China and India, Russia, the European Union, they all can have a role, participation in the growth, in the peace, stability of Southeast Asia and beyond. With the wisdom, the experience and influence of ASEAN leaders, ASEAN can be a prime bridge builder to lessen tensions, to prevent confrontations like in the South China Sea, to prevent escalation of disputes over land borders, maritime borders, all of that. That we might be able to contribute, but once we have consolidated ourselves in the country.
But for that to happen, to be a bridge builder, what is that one thing we can fix now in ASEAN to better our road towards being a bridge builder?
The challenges of Myanmar have to be addressed. And of course, it is not going to be ASEAN leaders who will dictate peace to Myanmar. The only road for Myanmar is for the Tatmadaw, the military leaders. They are Burmese, they are proud Burmese. I believe they want the best for the country. I believe they want peace for Myanmar, so Myanmar can prosper. So they are the ones who have to invite everybody in Myanmar, the ethnic nationalities, the different political groups for a national dialogue without preconditions. So, and everybody has to show moderation. Everybody has to show clarity about the road ahead. And the road ahead has to be one that leads to a united Myanmar and a Myanmar in peace. Democracy can take time. Let's not demand perfection. Let's demand end of violence, end of war.
Right. Which brings me to this, the mediation of Dato Sri Anwar with regards to the Cambodia-Thai conflict that we had, which is now kind of settled. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, ASEAN role is very important. I praise Prime Minister Anwar for his role in quickly stabilizing the conflict, the border conflict between Thailand and Cambodia. That was an ASEAN initiative. That was Prime Minister Anwar initiative as chairman of ASEAN. So it shows that existing ASEAN mechanisms can work. And I know the situation in Myanmar is more complex, more complicated, but I think it is possible to have everybody sitting down, no preconditions, no extremist demands. The main goal is to end the war, end the conflict, and then gradually release prisoners, engage in dialogues, and then gradually build up a political system that is very inclusive, that very open to everyone, that everyone feel they're part of. Call it democracy or whatever, I don't care. Important is everybody has a say in their country.
Speaking about everybody having a say in the country, the people, the youth, and the national ethos of Timor-Leste, that's what I want to work on now. Timor-Leste is one of the youngest nations in the world at this point, and that's one of your strengths. It can also be a bit of a problem sometimes with a lot of young people, but they have great energy. Now, with a very young population, what hopes and responsibilities do you see in this new generation of Timorese or people from Timor-Leste or young people from Timor?
Very, very important and absolute priority is education. Education and education. Three priorities. One is education, second is education, third is education. And in that regard, I have to say, people sometimes, they don't look at the figures, but the figures tell how much we have done in this country on education. I tell you, in 2002, we had only one university with 3,000 students, one PhD, one Timorese to acquire his PhD in Indonesia. And today we have more than 200 Timorese with PhDs acquired around the world.
Congratulations.
We have thousands with bachelor's degree, thousands with master's degrees. We have a total about 60,000 university students. We have a total 18 universities. And the universities do not mushroom without any control. Actually, every 2 years, an international body group of academics, US, Australia, Indonesia, Philippines, and Portugal, they do verification to re-accredit the universities. In 2002, we had only 19 Timorese medical doctors. Today we have 1,400 medical doctors. In 2002, electricity was barely in Delhi. Even in Delhi was complicated. Today, electricity covers almost 98% of the territory. Connectivity now is almost everywhere. Few more months, we have a better connectivity with submarine cable that connect us to Australia and the rest of the world. So, and we have eliminated malaria. We have eliminated lepra, although it has reappeared, and many other tropical diseases. We eliminated, according to WHO.
Now, when you talk about values and lessons for Timor-Leste's history of struggle and sacrifice, what should the youth carry forward into the future? And I'm not only talking about the Timorese youth, I'm talking about the youth in Malaysia, the youth in Asean. Sometimes they want things fast, they want things to be moving. It is great that things need to move, but there's organically, things need time to breathe for it to move forward, to grow.
Well, youth, always impatient, full of energy, dynamism. We all know that. We all were youth before. And then, but I have watched in my own country. I saw a very radical youth in 2001, 2002. Then a few years later, one of the radical youth, one of the key leaders of the crisis in 2006, I saw him showing up in an event, his long hair gone, his beard gone, he was wearing a suit. I had difficulty, well, I didn't have difficulty recognizing him, but I was shocked with his new appearance. And I asked him, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm an advisor to the minister, so-and-so. And these are all passing phenomena. We're all youth at one time, so we understand the impatience. So, but for me, the most important for the country is to invest, continue to invest in education, in science, in technology, and not so much in humanities, but more in science and technology. That's what I advocate strongly. And meaning investing mean good schools with all the conditions we can afford, water and sanitation, sport facilities, proper nutrition for the youth, for the students, and equipment, and so on. And that's what we have to do more. We haven't done enough in this country.
Right, so if that has to be done more, now I'm going to juxtapose that against what you often talk about. You talk about dignity all the time. How does this tie into that? What does dignity mean for the everyday lives of Timorese family today, the people walking outside this building?
We still have a serious challenge of extreme poverty and child malnutrition. However, again, there has been impressive progress over the last 20 years. For instance, before independence in 2001, for instance, 2099, life expectancy of a Timorese was below 60. A Timorese would not expect to live beyond 60. Today, life expectancy is 70 for men, 71 for women. So in 20 years, in 2 decades, life expectancy increased by 10, 12 years. And this is the best barometer, to look at how well a country is doing, is to look at the life expectancy.
Your Excellency, let's move into diplomacy, culture, and dialogue. As a Portuguese-speaking country in Southeast Asia, how does Timor-Leste's unique culture and identity help in enriching ASEAN? I guess this is a question we need to ask now as we push that last mile to the accession of Timor-Leste to ASEAN.
We are a rich, diverse country, culturally speaking, linguistically, religiously. We're predominantly Catholic, but we also have a Protestant and Muslim communities.
It's 97% Catholic?
Actually, I would say 99.6% Catholic, and then the rest between Muslims and Protestants. But very open-minded, very tolerant, very accommodating. We never have debate discussions on religion, on Muslims, on Protestants. No questions asked, etc. In this regard, Timorese are very, I wouldn't even say tolerant, because I don't like to use the word tolerant.
To tolerate someone, yeah.
You tolerate it. It is not really good, but okay, I tolerate it. No, I think you just say respect, and they are fully 100% part of the overall country. And languages, we have 4 main official languages. Tetu, number 1, is the Malay language. Portuguese, second, spoken only by 30+% and increasing. And then we have the Bahasa Indonesia, which is larger than Portuguese speaking, and the English increases. So Timorese are very polyglot, I have to say. We have, I personally very surprised often with how young Timorese can speak 5, 6 languages. For instance, some Timorese students, besides all the 4 languages I mentioned, they study Spanish because they study medicine under Cuban doctors. They study in China. Mandarin. They're very good with Mandarin. So Timorese, this country is going to be the most polyglot in all of ASEAN. Timorese, many thousands speak Korean language. Because
of the K-pop culture, soft diplomacy.
Yeah, I know some kids, friends or family, and one little girl, 8, 9 years old, an aspiring singer, and she was singing in Korean. I said, yeah, where did you learn Korean? She said, oh, I learned it in YouTube. And then I took her to meet the Korean embassy. They were very surprised how fluent she was. And then she told me, she had the audacity telling me, totally casually, oh, I also studying Mandarin, also through YouTube. Anyway, so Timor is very curious people, always want to learn, always looking for foreigners to engage, to talk. That is our, our richness. And that's why I always say, referring to any country, a country that has so many ethnic groups, so many religions, is a blessing. How boring if you have 100% same religion, same ethnic group, and so on. So.
Right. So what do you tell the people about not taking sides, saying you've got a large Catholic population here in Timor-Leste? How do you speak to them to say, look, there's a majority and there's a minority, and there's no majority and minority? Yeah.
No majority, no minority, no majority rights or minority rights. No, everybody is equal in the Constitution, in the laws, and not only in words, because we do apply it. It is applied. One of the most important leaders in this country is an active Muslim of Arabic descent, Dr. Mari Al-Khatiri. No one pay attention to his ethnic or religious background. And our Speaker of our National Parliament has some Chinese ancestry, although she no longer speaks Mandarin. But our Deputy Prime Minister, one of our Deputy Prime Minister, is very mixed. And he speaks Bahasa Indonesia, Portuguese, Tetu, English, Mandarin, Cantonese, and all of that. So this is a very cosmopolitan, very open-minded country. And I hope that this experience also can help us contributing, enable us to contribute to in ASEAN vision. What is the ASEAN vision? Leave no one behind. Leaving no one behind is not only that not leaving some in poverty, but also do not neglect and do not forget ethnic minorities. Sometimes, of course, these ethnic minorities are completely absorbed in a society, in the country, that no one talk about it any longer. But in policies, we have to always bear in mind. Because in some countries, I'm not saying in ASEAN, in some countries, minorities are neglected, are forgotten. You look at India, I have the greatest admiration for India, and 1.5 billion people. They have issues of, huge issues of minorities. But they have been able, to keep that country a democracy. They have been able to keep the country relatively peaceful. Indonesia is another example. Malaysia is another example. In spite of the so much diversity, they have been able to keep a certain harmony among all the diversity.
Right. Speaking of harmony, I want to move into something I'm very passionate about, which is, when I look at Timor-Leste, it's often recognized for its strong commitment to democracy and the freedom of press. It is so impressive where this country is at this point. How do you see these freedoms shaping the future of the nation? Of course, when you talk about where the freedom of the press is within Timor-Leste, a lot of people say, they're a young country, people don't read the newspapers much, so people don't care about these things. But I think there's a flip side to it, and maybe you can tell us this bit.
Well, we do have unlimited freedom of press, unlimited political rights, complete freedom. I never heard of a case of a journalist going to jail. Usually the allegations here have to do with media,
right,
like reporting on corruption, make allegations about a politician, and often unverified, unfounded, not thorough investigation. I always tell journalists, please investigate as if you were a prosecutor. A prosecutor has to investigate very, very thoroughly before you bring the case to the court. So before you publish something, investigate thoroughly. When this does not happen, you print something, and that becomes defamation. But even in the case of a possible defamation, no one ended up in jail in this country. No newspaper, no radio, television, social media closed down because of accusations of defamation by those who feel victimized. They're usually the people in government. People in government who serve, they are the ones who are more exposed to allegations of improprieties.
I'd like to juxtapose this against what's happening in Malaysia. A lot of us know that Malaysia has moved forward a long way, and the press plays a very important role. At some point, the press can become a little bit, overly anxious and overwrite or underwrite. What would be your advice to the press about bringing up the country? We just celebrated Malaysia Day.
I have to say,
I guess what I'm asking you is for a message to the press in Malaysia.
My warning to everyone, not only Malaysia but around the world, look at the tragedies of the past in the Balkans, for instance, in '99. What led to the war in the Balkans, the genocide in Bosnia? Political leaders, in that case Milosevic, using television and radio to instigate anti-Bosnian, anti-Muslim sentiments. And the media, the controlled media by the Serbians, went along with it. In Rwanda, what happened in '94, the genocide? Again, it was hatred propagated via radio. And the conflict, the anti-Rohingya conflict in Myanmar in 2017, for instance. Hundreds of fake accounts, Facebook accounts, contributed to that. So I would say if we want to preserve peace, stability in a country, in this age of internet, age of social media, artificial intelligence, we all, each of us, have to be very responsible how we use these powerful tools of communication so that it doesn't cause disruptions, hard feelings of individuals or entire communities, how we all should be mindful that words that we say may create tensions that lead to violence.
I guess at some point, ASEAN needs to look to you. When you represent Timor-Leste abroad, what message about your people do you most want ASEAN and the world to hear? Because we look for you and we look towards you for peace and reconciliation. You've taught us a lot about that. And what, in your opinion, or how do you see this moving forward? Your message about your people and about ASEAN you want the world to hear.
One of the vision elements of the vision, ASEAN vision, is not leaving anyone behind. And much has been done throughout ASEAN region in poverty elimination. Much more has to be done in Timor-Leste throughout ASEAN to lift the well-being of everyone. Because only in fair prosperity, we don't want to make everybody, we should not want to make everybody poor. The goal is not to make everybody poor, but the goal is not to have too few people who are extremely rich and all the others poor. We have to close the gap. The rich should not expect only the government to look after the poor. We have to be really a fraternal community, a solidarity community of countries. And of course, you don't resolve issues of poverty with charity. Charity is important in times of emergencies. But to resolve issues of poverty has to be employment, has to be job creation. And that only the private sector can do. Or at least the private sector should contribute to it and not expecting only the government to provide handouts. Handouts do not resolve issues of underdevelopment.
Now, I'd like to at this point move into leadership, your Nobel legacy, and your vision once again. I keep harping on your vision because that's what I hope we can instill in ASEAN vision to move forward. Now, Your Excellency, you're one of the few Nobel Peace Laureates leading a country today. Not many lead a country. You're one of the few. How does that honor influence your role as the president of Timor-Leste?
Well, you know, when I met with Papa Francisco in Rome, January 24, out of 40 minutes meeting with him, we talked about Timor-Leste only 3-5 minutes. Most of the time, I told His Holiness about my disillusionment with the global leadership, of how we all talk about conflict prevention, and yet conflicts happen again and again. We all fail in preventing what happened in Gaza. And I'm thoroughly disillusioned with the world leadership in regard to Gaza. This is happening in 21st century. And not happening like it did during World War II with the Nazis and the Jews, in hiding, because the Nazis, they hid it. Here is happening broad daylight, live streaming, an ongoing genocide. And I'm so disillusioned but at the same time, I take some consolation that millions in the world protesting, speaking out for the Palestinians. We want ASEAN to be a very humane community, a very compassionate community. ASEAN can be like a beacon of peace, of prosperity, of fraternity. That would be my vision, my ambition. Is it too romantic, too idealistic, irrealistic? No, it is not. We do have capable leaders throughout Southeast Asia. When I say leaders, I'm not referring only to those in government. A great number of people, intellectuals, academics, artists, religious personalities, who all can contribute to make Southeast Asia a oasis, a big oasis of tranquility and fairness, justice, prosperity.
I've got a lot of questions, but time seems to be running out for us. And two questions which are very important to me at this point is, if you could leave one enduring legacy for the people of Timor-Leste, what would it be? And the next would be your message to Malaysians, my people, and the wider ASEAN community about sticking together.
For us, for Timor-Leste, whatever legacy that I might leave when one day I'm gone from a political life, is that people remember that I always emphasize fairness, justice, dignity, and all of this means no extreme poverty. There should be no child that goes hungry. There should be no child undernourished. And there should be no domestic violence at homes, in schools. That is my main legacy that I contribute through messages, but through actions as well. And the same should be for Malaysia. Of course, Malaysia is very well advanced. When you go to Malaysia, when I go to Malaysia, you feel like you are in a modern industrial country.
But sometimes people can forget.
Yeah, when you look around, I say, well, you could be in Belgium, you could be in Germany, and so on. You know, what is third world about it? Yeah, and because it has incredible modern hospitals. Many from Indonesia, they go to Penang for medical check, and many Arabs go to Malaysia. They no longer go to Europe; they come to Malaysia. Malaysians should consider themselves very fortunate. So I would say preserve that, cherish that, because you are doing very well compared with others. Second, yes, do more so that everyone else who might still live in poverty is lifted out from poverty.
In the age of the social media, when you look at it, everyone talks over each other. Okay, so everyone reads a little bit and comments and comments. Now, how hard would this be for leadership, for all leaders in ASEAN leading their respective countries to run or to bring progress to these countries?
Leadership is the key to peace, to stability, to prosperity. Leaders are the ones who make the policies. Leaders are the ones who influence people. And sometimes leaders are the ones who have to make difficult decisions that might not be popular. Because in modern democracies, or in so-called modern democracies, sometimes the leader is not leading. He or she goes by opinion polls. You have to respect public opinion, but sometimes it's very difficult for leaders to make decisions, like there are certain reforms that you want to do. How to modernize your civil service to be more efficient. If you have a very bloated civil service that looks more like a social service, then you need to change that. This happened in Europe. The 2008-9 subprime crisis that caused the problems in Greece, in Portugal. When you look, some of the problems derive from bloated bureaucracies. They spend so much money on the bureaucracy. Or you have to reform some of the state-owned companies that are not only to employ friends and the political allies and so on. So all of these are always very difficult. It's easier said than done. Easier said than done in Timor-Leste. One of the priorities I would like to see someone help us modernize our civil service, but create also alternatives. So the thousands of people who we feel that are not terribly useful in our civil service, where should they go? We have to create alternative for them, better alternatives, so that the civil service becomes slim, efficient.
But this is your call to the rest of the world and also to ASEAN,
yes,
if Timor-Leste is looking for help of some sort.
I see that as a priority in the next 5 years.
One last question for you, Mr. President, before we go down and look at your cantina. Your message to Malaysians and ASEAN. This is our last push, and Malaysia wants so much to see this happen. Not Malaysia, most of the countries that have stood by Timor wants to see this happen. What would be your message in this interview, which is going to be broadcast on the National News Agency of Malaysia? What do you want to say to all of us?
We thank Malaysia and all ASEAN leaders for welcoming us to join this organization to which we belong as a birthright by virtue of the fact that we are in Southeast Asia, in the footprint of Southeast Asia. At the same time, we are very grateful for the trust in us that we are capable of discharging our responsibilities as an ASEAN member. We have failings, we have weaknesses, but we pledge, we promise to improve, to do better year after year. That is my only short message to Malaysian friends, Malaysian people, ASEAN people, is that We will do our best to be a peaceful, open, tolerant country. We will be a loyal, steady friend of all others in ASEAN. We will contribute to make the region, ASEAN region, ever more credible, influential in the world. We want to contribute to make ASEAN a bridge builder. And hopefully, one day, I can nominate ASEAN for the Nobel Peace Prize.
And we're looking forward to that. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Mr. President RAMOS-HORTA, you've been a beacon of support to everyone when we talk about peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.